Hello and welcome to this life coaching session on relationships, finding a want match. If you're here, why don't you go ahead and say hello? I'd love to know that you're listening. You can also make comments, of course, and ask me questions in the chat below. If I don't answer you here right away on the live coaching session, then I'll be happy to do so later. And I am a little bit inspired to do this relationship live coaching session because of some of the questions I've been getting in our Christmas challenge. It's called Holiday Healing. And we're about to go even deeper into our relationships with family and friends and intimate relationships. And I often hear a lot of things on that subject. So I thought it'd be really useful if we just clarified a few things here together. And I'd obviously love to know what you think of it all, or if you've got a question. So please feel free to participate. And to dive in, I want to ask you why you're in a relationship. And it seems the obvious answer to say that, well, I'm better off with this person than without. And that is, of course, true. And so it should be. But sometimes we think we make the other person responsible for that happiness, don't we? So we sort of delegate or outsource, as I say in the self-love activation course, we outsource to another person the task of making sure that we are happy. And it is always our responsibility to fill ourselves up with love and happiness and joy and everything we desire. We can never ask another person to do that for us. We must take responsibility. Otherwise, we're heading for some big, big trouble. So let me just take this apart for you, and you're free to agree with me or not. And challenge me on this. But if you really take it apart and think about it, people with whom you are in a relationship are there for you to feel love, right? But not in the sense that they give you love, because you can't feel that. You can have the thought that they love you, and that can give you a sense of love, but really your most direct route to feeling love is feeling the love for this person who's in your life, be it an intimate relationship or be it a friend or a family member. They are there to do their job, which is to be there for you to love them, right? Your job is to love them, not the other way around. So if we're really clear on that people are in your life so that you can love them, and when you love them, you experience the feeling of love in your life, well, then everything becomes much clearer, don't you think? So often we don't really see it as clearly as that. And we want really to control other people's feelings and behaviors. And we've all done this. I mean, and we still do it sometimes. But the thing is, if we can just really create some awareness around it, we would have so much clearer communication, and we would really stop ourselves from getting frustrated. Because when you get out that remote control and you start wanting to control how other people feel and behave, that is really when you set yourself up for some big time trouble. Because what you're doing there is giving these people the power to control your feelings. Let me just explain that. When you are expecting other people to feel certain things or behave in a certain way, well, if they don't do it, you will be disappointed, angry, frustrated, sad, or any of those feelings, which is really giving power over to these people, right? So you're allowing them to influence or even control your feelings. And that is not a very safe place to be in, is it? So we are all always responsible for our own emotional well-being. We cannot delegate it. We cannot outsource it. We can enrich our lives by being with other people so that we can love them for who they are. Of course, we can try and change them. We can go something like, I would be so happy if just Paul would stop smoking, right? But that is not true, is it? It's absolutely not true. It won't make the blindest bit of difference to your happiness whether somebody smokes or not. That is their business. And since you cannot control it anyway, well, why would you be busy trying to? Can you see all the frustration or the anguish, the upset that can come from that situation? Wanting to control somebody else's behavior when you can't. So that is why I talk about finding a want match. Because when people in your life want the same things as you, well, that is when everything flows and you feel cool, you feel in a loving relationship, and it just flows. Hi, Eliane. Nice to see you here. So if you allow the other person just to be themselves, well, then you can be yourself, and your lovability doesn't depend on you, because the bottom line is you are lovable just as you are. Whether other people choose to love you or not is really their problem or not. It's really their affair, right? Your lovability depends on how they can feel love, not on you or what you're doing. So want match is really sitting down and thinking about, in my intimate relationship, what do I really want? And if you're honest about this, you'll get a really good guideline to what it is you are after. So I would invite you, if you want to create clarity around an existing relationship, or if you want to get super clear on who it is you want to attract into your life, to make a list of what your wants are. And they could be anything from cuddling every day to having romantic dinners 3 times a week to having sex once a day, or traveling together, having children together, managing your finances together. I mean, just put down everything from small things like getting flowers on your wedding anniversary, or him remembering your birthday, whatever it is. Just be really clear and think about, well, what is it really that I want? How is it I want to experience my relationship? And once you're clear on that, you can actually ask your partner, or perhaps not. I mean, if you haven't got a partner, then you will want to wait with this. But if you have got a partner, you can ask this person, well, what do you want? And I would advise, when you're looking for a partner, to find out also if they want what you want. Because, of course, if you're just newly in love, then you are prepared perhaps to make a little bit of effort, if you see what I mean. So if you don't really want to go out for 3 romantic dinners a week, you're willing to say, okay, I'll do that for you. I can do that, right? But if it's not a want, then you or the other person will be committing to something that is going to be not a want, right? It's going to be an obligation. So if you're building having your needs met through obligation, well, that is not going to work for a long time, is it? So the more you can get clear on what your real wants are, the better your relationship will be, and the better you will feel, and the easier it will be to love that person, right? So if you can match a lot of your wants, well, then that is really cool because you both want the same things. And that is when you've got a want match. But chances are that you won't get all your wants met, right? Because I think that increasingly, I don't think our grandparents really looked for having a lot of qualities and a lot of wants met in just one person. But it seems to me that, I don't know whether it's with Disney or Hollywood, that we tend to feel that one person should really be packaged so that we would get all those wants and needs met, all those desires fulfilled in just one person. And I find that rather unrealistic. So if we're talking about an intimate relationship, obviously there's some things you should agree on. Do you want children? Do you want a monogamous relationship? Things like that are really, really important. But then just let go of some of the others. I mean, obviously romantic dinners, you would want to have them together, but all the rest, I mean, what could you really do with other people? What would it be possible to do with other people? Now, for instance, travel. If your intimate partner wants to travel with you, well, then that is fine. But if he or she doesn't, well, couldn't you just travel with somebody else or travel on your own? I mean, you don't have to have everything and every need met from one person. Do you see what I mean? But being clear about it is so useful, because when you know that your intimate partner is not going to travel with you because that's just not his thing, well, then you're not expecting it anymore, right? If you're not expecting him to travel with you, well, then you can just go about finding a different way of having that need met. And that doesn't really reflect on your relationship, does it? If your partner enjoys playing golf and you just think it's the most boring thing ever, well, how would you feel about him going off, enjoying himself playing golf with other people? I think you would just find that fabulous. So if we could just allow ourselves to have all of our needs met in different people, in friends, in family, in intimate partners, in colleagues, in casual friends, whatever, if we could allow that to happen, then that would take a lot of pressure off this precious person that you've got in your life. Remember, they are there for you to be able to feel love. That's all, right? They're not there for you to change or improve upon. If we could change people, well, I'd be all for it, right? I would want to patent the method and then hand it out as widely as possible. But the thing is, we can't. So let's not get frustrated about somebody else's behavior, because we can't change it. So just let it be. And when I say that, and when I talk about want, I'm not suggesting that you don't talk about it. Right? So if you meet up with a new guy and you're thinking about being really serious with this person, why don't you just sort of tell him that, well, actually, I love for people to remember my birthday, and I love having presents for my birthday, and I'm really into diamonds or whatever. Just fill them in on what would really give you a lot of pleasure. Right? And then let it go, because they might not. And if you're not entertaining any sort of expectations in that direction, well, then you're just taking away all possibility of yourself being really disappointed when they forget your birthday or when they don't give you diamonds. Do you see what I mean? So the clearer you can get about what your wants are and where and how you want them met, well, the smoother your relationships will be. So if you're not convinced that people are there for you to love, your job is to love them and their job is to be who they are. Just think about somebody saying, I love you. Now, if you're saying, I love you to another person, then you are feeling the love. You're having the thought, I love this person, you're feeling the feeling, and you might say the words, I love you. If somebody else tells you, I love you, well, then you're not feeling it till you have the thought, he loves me, and then you start feeling the love, right? You're not directly feeling the other person's feeling. And the proof of that is that it's possible to be in a relationship where one person loves the other, but the other person doesn't love the one, right? So you've got unrequited love. That can happen, which means that, well, you can't actually feel on a first-hand level other people's feelings. You can integrate what they're saying, which makes you have a thought, and then make a feeling out of that thought, and then you can feel the feeling, right? So people are in your life for you to love or not. My advice is for you to be with people who you feel are easy to love. If you put yourself in the company of people whom you find difficult to love, well, then that is really your problem, isn't it? I mean, you can't expect them to change. So you've got a choice. You can either not see them, or you can keep being in a relationship with them. I mean, be they family members or colleagues or whatever, people we can't really get away from. You've got to find a way of being with them that is peaceful to you, that doesn't send you into all that frustration and anger, that disappointment and perhaps even resentment. So find a way where you can feel that you can actually love this person, perhaps not all of that person, but bits of that person. And there are always bits that we can love about other people. So coming up to the holiday season here, maybe you will be forced into being with people you don't really enjoy being with. And instead of just grinning and bearing it, try and find a way of seeing them differently. Try and see whether there isn't something about them that you could really love. And I'm sure that if you look really carefully, there's always something. And please don't try and change their behavior or be influenced by their behavior. They will behave whether you approve or not. So just let that be. Don't try and control all those things that you cannot control. You can, of course, tell them, Uncle Ben, when you smoke, it really, really frustrates me. Could you please go outside, right? But always remember that when you set boundaries like that, you are leaving the power in Uncle Ben's hands, because if he says, no, I won't go outside, well, what can you do then? You are powerless. So the most effective boundaries that you can set with other people is to leave the consequence with you. So instead of asking Uncle Ben to go outside to smoke because you really don't like him smoking inside, you could say, Uncle Ben, if you feel the need to smoke, I will have to leave the room. And then be prepared to do so, right? So you've told the person that what you're doing doesn't really align with how I want to be experiencing this moment. You're not saying, I feel it's offensive. If you smoke, you don't respect me. I mean, all this is just, those are just words, aren't they? So just tell him as calmly as possible, Uncle Ben, if you smoke in this room, I will have to leave it, right? And then be prepared to do it and just leave, right? That gives you all the power, because whether he smokes or not, you are taking care of you, and you are the one who's got the power to either stay or leave. Now, if you choose to stay when he smokes, well, That is a whole different ball game and really your problem. But if you choose to leave the room, you are saying to him, I'm not rejecting you as a person. I told you how I was going to react. I'm just reacting according to my plan, right? So you have actually got the right to do that. And especially in this holiday season, when you're forced to be with people you don't always enjoy being with, you can set boundaries in that way. But maybe we're getting a little bit far away from relationships. But we are in relationships that we've either chosen or not chosen to be in. If you want to enjoy all of your relationships, have a look at how you can enjoy sharing something with that person. So maybe with family members, you can't always share your feelings on a deeper level. I know that's the case in my family. So maybe that's your case too. In that case, you have to say, okay, they don't want to hear about my feelings. So how can I share with them in some other way? So find ways of being with all the people in your life, with your boss, with your colleagues, with your neighbors, in a way that is joyful to you. If you don't set yourself up expecting to have long soul-searching conversations with your neighbors, well, then you won't be disappointed when you don't have them. Do you see what I mean? So with my neighbors, I've got lovely neighbors. They're all delightful people, well-meaning and kind. But we don't have a lot of things in common. So we find different things to talk about, right? In a way where we can be together for an hour or two, enjoy a glass of wine together, a cup of tea, and be perfectly fine, right? I will even learn things and I will find it enjoyable. But I'm not thinking that, okay, we're going into a deep soul-searching conversation. Are we going to discover something intellectually together? We just don't do that. Okay, so you can actually set yourself up for a lot of positive experience in all your relationships, so that you don't set yourself up for disappointment. And talking about disappointment, I just wanted to touch on resentment, because in some of our intimate relationships, we set ourselves up for resentment. First of all, disappointment, which then grows into resentment. And that is really what I'm hearing from a lot of you. It's this, well, why can't he just blah, blah, blah. And if you've built your love relationship on obligations, if your want matches didn't match, but you've been over compromising on all the list, well, then your relationship is really fueled by obligation. And obligation ruins intimacy and connection. You can't connect with people from an obligation, can you? So you really need to take things apart, have a look at, well, where is it that I'm obliging the other person to do something? Like, one of my great wishes for my intimate partner is that we go dancing together. And if you've met Manuel, he's very sporty and what have you, but he's just not a fabulous dancer, or at least he doesn't want to explore that side of himself. So we hardly ever go dancing, right? But I know this. I accept that. And Manuel wants me to do lots of things with him, like rock climbing and stuff like that. And I'm just not keen on that. So we haven't done a lot of that either. But he just puts up with it too. When you accept the limits of other people, what they want to explore and what they can give, so that you're not obliging them to do something they don't really enjoy, wow, then your relationship really just lightens up, doesn't it? So think about what you are expecting your partner or your friends or family to do for you, and see how it would feel if you were no longer expecting them to. Right? So please remember, I told you that it doesn't mean you can't tell them. I can say to Manuel, I would really love for us to go dancing, and I would really appreciate it if we did that sometimes. I can say that, right? But I'm just not expecting it to happen. So when it does happen, well, then I'm overjoyed, if you see what I mean. And I'm not that great a dancer either, but anyway, I enjoy it. So when you've got a moment, sit down, and if you want to improve on your existing relationships or attract some new relationships into your life, make a list of what it is that you really want to be experiencing in this relationship. And please feel free to delegate it out to several people. Like, I'm always one for having close relationships with other women where we can really go deep and be really vulnerable. So that is on one of my want lists, that I'm looking not to get fulfilled by colleagues or by, I don't know, bosses, not that I have any, but family, right? I'm looking to get that fulfilled through my girlfriends. If I want to explore shopping, I mean, I'm not expecting my husband to come with me, because I mean, that would just be a trial more than an enjoyment. So please don't expect just one person to fill all these roles for you. Expect all your wants and needs to be fulfilled, but not by one person. So let me know if this brings up anything for you. If you've got any comments to make, I'd be very happy to know. Also, if you want me to do any other life coaching sessions on any other topic, you can always go ahead and suggest it. And you can always email me at contact@katrinahorn.com. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.